You may remember my Acklot Lorien kit guitar that I did. Well, it's time for me to change the nut. And for reasons that I will show you later, I can't use the original nut in the guitar and make changes with it. So I bought a new nut for it. This is from Guyker. This is a 42 millimeter titanium alloy adjustable nut. We're going to see how that works out. See you in a bit. Hey everybody, I'm Brant, and yes, I have already gotten started on this project. I was actually waiting for some parts and just couldn't wait any longer. So I have taken the strings off this guitar and removed the old nut. That was very, very easy to do. It just sat in this spot here, and all I did was take an X-Acto knife and run it along the edges where it met the fingerboard and tapped it out. Very, very, very easy. I need to cut this nut to get the strings a little bit lower. They're a little high off the fingerboard. However, I did not cut this nut, and here's why. I heard from John at Smoke Eater Guitars, these nuts are hollow, and sure enough, it is. So if I had cut the string slots there for this nut, there's a likelihood that I was going to go into the hollow space, and under string tension, those strings would just cut right through that and lay flat on the fingerboard, and I can't have that. So this is out of here. Adios. And because I had seen John at Smoke Eater Guitars do it, I wanted to try these adjustable nuts. I was having a little trouble finding one that was a good width. This was a 42 millimeter width here where the nut sits. And most of the ones, the adjustable ones I was seeing, were 43 millimeters. So I asked John, he sent me a link to this. This is what he used on his guitar, on his Lorien kit. Little shocked when I got it. It came in this package, which was in with something else. My wife almost threw it away, not realizing it was even in there. It was so small. No instructions. It came with the nut itself and this little Allen key. Now the Allen key, you can actually insert it in the top here and raise and lower these, I almost called them saddles, these slots, and they're kind of cut crossways. So I'm guessing you have to line them up so the strings lie in those crosses. I'm not really sure how it's going to work out. To be honest, I'm feeling like this is a little, not flimsy, but finicky, maybe is a better word. And I'm kind of wondering if I shouldn't have tried one of the adjustable roller nuts. But I'm going to give this a shot and see how this works out. So some of the things I've been waiting for are, first of all, this right here. What I need to do, and I haven't done it yet because I just received these, is I need to file out this slot. It's got a little bit of glue residue left in there. I don't know if you can see it. So I need to make sure that that's flat. I just picked these up on Amazon. Liberation. This nice little set of files came with a wire cutter, brush, but what I was really aiming for was one of these guys right here. So I can get in that slot and file it down. Once I have it filed, I have, oh, and that fits perfectly. Perfectly. I'm just going to do it right now. Man, I really appreciate, man, all you guys in the community, the ability to reach out to a lot of you and ask, hey, what would you do here? What do you think of this? It's been fantastic. I might go out that a little bit more. But I wanted to show you what I'm doing next. So the nut that I got, the Guyker, let me zoom in a little bit here so maybe you can see better what I'm doing. That nut fits in there widthways perfectly, but if you look, there's a little gap where it doesn't quite fit in where the previous nut was. I don't know if you can see that or not. I'm having a hard time telling on camera. If you notice that little gap, and you can actually see where the truss rod hole is, and then the cover's right here. So I wasn't really too keen on that. I don't think that you glue this nut down or anything. So it's just being held in place with string tension. And just that there's so much space in there, I felt a little nervous about that. I didn't like it. So I reached out to the pit crew and took a picture and said, what would you guys do? And John, very wisely, having had the same guitar kit and installed the same adjustable nut, said, oh, you're probably going to need a shim in there. And I had looked at the old nut and this new adjustable one, and I had kind of done a little height comparison, and they are pretty much width going across, and height, they are right on. However, if you notice, the string slots on here are super high up, whereas if you look at the profile of where the strings would go, my camera focus, even if these are topped all the way out, there's still quite a distance there. And so John wisely said, I think you're going to need a shim. And once I looked at it, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to have to shim that up some. Now that solves my gap problem because I can fill in that whole gap with a shim. However, I still would have a little gap in between the truss rod cover and the new nut. So I have, using some old, I had some old pieces of shim. I think you can kind of see on there, it's the moose bore. We kind of torn it in pieces, cutting out parts. But this old guitar neck shim that I had left over. So I cut out a couple of pieces and put them together. Actually, this is fits in that slot perfectly. And there's two of these glued together. And I kind of went a little overboard. On top of that, I cut out a very, very thin piece. I don't know if you can see it. Right on top there. To kind of fill in that gap between the nut and the truss rod cover. So it is a shim. It's really, I'm sure I've gone overboard. To top it off, what I'm going to do before I actually install it is I got a set of furniture markers. Just like this. It comes with some wax stuff. You probably can't see. Yeah. Like $10 on Amazon, which I thought was a pretty good deal. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take this shim here And I'm going to paint it. I have a mahogany color, which I think is relatively close. And I'm only doing this just so it blends in. Nicely on the guitar. I'm just grabbing it lightly with some tweezers. I'm not wearing gloves or anything. Yep. These furniture markers are great. I had a neck recently that I dyed. I sanded it and dyed. And when I dyed it, I taped up the fingerboard. Well, I taped a little bit over the neck, and I had some pretty distinct lines that I didn't dye or dye completely. So I got these furniture markers and used those to cover up those lines. And I got to say, they did a pretty good job. All right. Before I install this, I'm going to let that glue wholly dry. Glue. I'm going to let that paint dry. Sometimes I don't know what I'm saying when I'm doing these videos. So I'm just going to slide that in so you can see what it'll look like. I might paint a little bit more. It is pretty tight in there. Which is good, but it is level. And like I said, once I get it fits perfectly. And I've got that little gap. Right there, and that little piece that I put in actually keeps that nut a little tight on there. So that is a nice, I kind of like the way that feels. And I can definitely see that I have more than enough height clearance now, so the strings aren't going to go anywhere. Just making sure that's in there flat. Yeah, that's going to be great. And you can't even, I don't know if you can even see where the shim is on that. Maybe a little bit. I had missed a little paint here, so anyway. But let me let this paint dry. I'm going to go over the file again real quick and make sure that that's all copacetic. And yeah, then I'll come back and we'll get into installing the nut and putting the strings back on and making sure everything's adjusted correctly. So we will have solved that issue. Be back in a bit. All right. So I have got my shim painted. It's dry. I've leveled out this slot here. I actually did use the correct file, not the file I had before. And got that level. By the way, thank you, Cal. I got your sticker right here, buddy. If you guys haven't checked out Cal B and Rocco Cat, he does some amazing stop animation with Legos, and he puts it to music and does a lot of collaborations with people. Really great channel. I'll have a link in the description below. For any channel that I mention, I usually put a link to their channel in my video description. All right, so I need to glue this shim in. So I'm just going to put a couple of droplets of CA glue. I got a couple drops of glue on there. All right, so now I'm going to slide this in. Like so. And make sure that it's flush. All right, that's done. That's in there. It's a little darker. It matches the fretboard more than it does the headstock, but I like that more than just being a plain old shim. And I don't know if you can see that little tiny ledge right next to the truss rod cover. I noticed these little screws in here. I keep raising them up and they somehow magically keep on going back down. I don't know if it's just because I'm moving it around or what. I'm going to raise them up real quick. When I put the strings on, I want this to be actually pretty high. And that way when I go to adjust the nut height, I just go down. I gotta say this nut, hopefully it works really well. It just feels a little bit finicky. And that would be my only, not complaint about it, but concern. I want to make sure that that is in there flush. That is right on. That is sitting level. And I gotta say, with that little ledge in there, it feels more solid, I guess is how I describe it. Let's get the strings on. Everything else is set up on this guitar. I've done all the fretwork and adjusted the action and intonation and all that stuff. So that shouldn't change anything. All I should have to do is adjust the nut height. Just trying to make sure that nut is positioned correctly. Not moving one way or the other out of alignment. All right. Let's check and see where we're at. So what I use to check nut height, because I do need a tool that tells me what I'm doing, because otherwise I'm in big trouble. If I just try and eyeball it, I'm not too great at that. I have this little nut height gauge from Music Nomad. This is great. I recommend this tool if you're doing work like this on a regular basis or more than once type of situation. And this truss rod gauge to measure your relief. These are great, as well as the action ruler here by Music Nomad. These are all fantastic tools to have if you set up a lot of guitars. So on this gauge, basically you find what string you're measuring the nut, and it has directions here for you on the tool itself to tell you exactly what you're doing. So once you find the correct nut height gauge with the instrument in tune and in the playing position, slide the gauge between the string and the first fret, and the string should lightly touch the gauge. If the string does not lightly touch the gauge, file nut slot in small increments until it touches. So instead of filing, I'm just going to be adjusting. Oh, it broke that thing. Did you see that happen? Yeah. It pinched that right out of there. Dang. Well, I guess I'm going to have to go back and touch up, just paint that and leave that out. Shoot. I knew it was kind of tight in there, but maybe I can re-glue that. Yeah. Too intricate for my own good. Well, I will fix that. Shucks. I thought that looked nice. Well, wonder why it popped out all of a sudden. Is this moving? I'm a little nervous about this moving around. Just saying, this may not be the ideal replacement nut for me. All right, so I'm going to select the low E guitar, the low E and A string, this 0.020 measurement. And what you want to do is you want to slide between the string and the first fret. We're not holding anything down or anything like that. We're just sliding it in. And on these two strings, the E and A, so that one might need to come down a little bit because there's a little space. They both might need to come down a little bit. So I am going to loosen the strings. And I'm going to move it. I think that was about half a turn. I'm just going to do this one right now. Just going to do the E string. Get it back into tune. And measure it again. Now there's hardly any movement there. Just a tiny bit. I think I'm going to leave that as is. Let's check the A I need to do something with. So we're there, and I'm going to go down 1/2 turn. Okay. And tighten that back up. Tune that back up. Now I'm not in the playing position. I'm doing it this way so I can show you what to do. So now I'm going to check that. Oh, hardly any movement. So I think that's good. I think that's good right there. The other way you can check is you can hold down at the 3rd fret and kind of see if you have, just a tiny bit of bounce there. Hardly any there. I wonder if I can go lower with that. Like maybe another 1/4 turn. And I'm going to leave that good. I'm going to go ahead and check all the other strings. So then, again, for the D and the G string, you go to a different depth under the 1st fret. A little bit of movement there. Those actually look pretty good. I'm not going to do anything there. And then I'll go to the high E and B. And come in on this side and see. I've got a lot of movement. All right, those need to come down. Hardly any movement now. I might go a little lower. Let me play with this in the playing position. I'm going to see if I can get this piece back in there, maybe. Oh, bummer. Oh well. Let me see what I can do with this, and I'll be back. Got it all done. I actually was able to put that little piece back in there, glue it down, just for looks, I guess. Uh, give me a little sense of security with that nut. This nut is actually working really, really well. I've noticed a quite a significant improvement in tuning stability on this guitar. I've had it for a little while now. The only thing that I would probably go back and do, and I plan on going back the next time I take the strings off, some of these edges on the nut are pretty sharp. And I've noticed when I'm playing chords down here, my hand will tend to run into the nut a little bit, and it's not comfortable. I wouldn't say, sometimes it feels a little painful, but I would say it's more just not comfortable. I'm going to take some sandpaper, file those edges, soften them up a little bit. They're just a little too sharp. It's doing a great job. I was able to get the nut height spot on. I really like the adjustability. I think I felt like it was a little fidgety before because the screws that adjusted the height, whenever I just moved the nut around, they're really loose in there, which is good because you don't want them to be tight. But everything seems really solid now that it's on the guitar, that it's got the string tension on it. Aside from those sharp edges, it's working perfectly. I'm really satisfied. I'd like to try some of the rolling adjustable nuts, but this one did a pretty good job. I'm pretty happy with it. It's much better than the plastic nut that was in there. Anyway, that's going to do it for me. Thanks again for watching. And as always, wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having a fantastic day. Cheers.